All right, so I just made a video, and again, my phone deleted it. I'm going in today to try to exchange my phone. But at least for now, I'm gonna try to make another video, because I think if I make it shorter, it's not gonna delete it. So I'm gonna talk about the underworld and, well, basically the different names for America, like the oldest names that I know of for America. I mean, of course, like Turtle Islands is, you could say, I mean, that's like an English translation of at least a concept of, that a lot of Amerindians had. And America itself could be a native word. I mean, honestly, nobody knows where the word America came from. It was claimed that it might have come from Amerigo Vespucci, but there are many reasons to doubt that. And North America originally was named something else in the early maps. I forget what that was, but that was a native name. And but I'm going to talk about names for America that were used by people that didn't live in America. So, like in English, our word for America was hell. So it's kind of at least one of the shortest names for it. Hell was portrayed as a goddess, for the Germanic people. She was the daughter of Loki, who I think is Saturn, the planet Saturn. And yeah, so hell was like a holy land for them for the most part. I mean, there were different like traditions about it. Some were slightly negative, but many were extremely positive. Like if there was any place that was the paradise on earth, or that was considered paradise, not even just on earth, but just paradise, it was America. It was basically described as paradise by countless ancient civilizations. It was called the Greenland, I think, which is probably why the Vikings named Greenland, because they knew it was basically in the Americas. I mean, really, Greenland is in the Americas as much as Cuba is, or, it's part of the same. As much as Britain is part of Europe, like Greenland is part of America, even though it's politically connected to Europe. But so the English words for it are like hell, the Greenland. Let's see, I'm not really sure what else in English. Oh, well, the underworld. And for them it's the underworld for Europe, because it's on the underside of the planet, the opposite side of the planet. And but yeah, my voice seems to be like giving out. Awesome. But it's other names. I guess the French called it the fairyland. I'm not sure the exact French, but that's like the English for the French is the fairyland. So they said it was the land of the fairies. It was the land of the I'm not exactly sure who the fairies were. I think the fairies were just the gods. So it was the land of the gods for a lot of the different ancient cultures, called the fairy realm. So the witches of Europe were thought to they basically were like their main thing was to either go to the underworld, go to the fairyland, go to hell, or they would symbolically go there, like by, boofing some ketamine or something, and like doing some witch's brew, and like dressing up and like doing a ritual where they were symbolically going through the underworld, just like the Freemasons do in their rituals, just like the ancient, Persians and Egyptians and basically all the ancient people for like the last 5,000 years performed these underworld rituals, even when they were not even physically going to the underworld necessarily. But they were symbolically going there. So that's why witches were called hell runners, in Germanic languages. And so in the oldest words that I know of for America would be Kur. Like Kur is the Sumerian name, or one of the Sumerian words for it, which also can just mean a mountain, but somehow also means the underworld America. And, what else? Possibly, according to some, or at least one writer was saying that Dilmun was also a name for it, for America. And I'm not sure about Eridu. Eridu is generally considered to be a place in Iraq, but there's a chance that's also the underworld, America. So America was called Hades by the Greeks. It was also called the Hesperides, or just Hesperides maybe, which basically means the West. What else? Let's see. The Romans called America Pluto, which modern quote-unquote scientists named a planet after, because they don't understand like how ancient nomenclature works, and they didn't realize that Pluto was already like a real thing. I mean, who knows? If maybe Pluto also, a lot of these things also may have had celestial counterparts, but they certainly did refer to America. And so, and maybe Dive, or D-I-V, Dive, I think, might have been another name, like Latin name or something for, I think maybe that was Latin for America. The Egyptians called it Amentet Neferet, which means the beautiful West. They also called it Aker, which means beneath, basically the underworld. They also called it the Aket, basically. And I mean, the Aket kind of includes the horizons, but I think it's also basically the underworld. They also called it the Duat. I think originally that word was just dot, like D-A-T, and then eventually it became Duat during the Old Kingdom or the Middle Kingdom. And yeah, I'm not really sure if there are other names for it from Egypt. Another Greek name for the underworld is Tartarus. So Hades, Tartarus, and in some descriptions, it seems like Tartarus is South America and like Hades is North America, or that North America is Erebus and that they're both Hades together. The Irish called it Brazil. So, they claim that's not the origin of the name Brazil, but I haven't seen evidence disproving that that's the origin of the name Brazil. Um, the Irish also called it, what was it? They had a bunch of names for it. Basically, I forget the Irish name words for it or whatever, but the translation is the land of eternal youth, basically the land of the green land. Yeah, there's a bunch of different descriptions. There are variations on basically describing a paradise land. And the Welsh called it Avalon, and or maybe it was the Welsh that called it Brazil. I don't know, but definitely the Welsh called it Avalon, and they had other names for it as well. The Hindus called it Patala and Naraka. And again, there's a chance, or at least in some descriptions, it seems that Naraka is South America and Patala is North America, but other times one or the other is used for both. And those terms are also used by the Buddhists. The Hebrew name for America is Sheol. And so, yeah, I mean, these are a lot of, I mean, it's just, we have a very rich history. Like like America has such a rich history, and I don't know, it's just been cut off from us just because it was convenient for the powers that be to cut it off. But, you know, we were like, the world was robbed of all this like history and all this culture. So, you know, these are very old names for this land. So I think they're as valid, if not more so, than any modern name for it. So, you know, the names that the Americans had for Afro-Eurasia included, like the Aztecs called it Mictlan and Tlalocan, and like the Mayans called it Xibalba, and I think the Japanese called America Horizon, which is kind of ironic because it was like over the horizon. But, you know, that was their name for it. I forget what the ancient Chinese name for America was. I think there was a couple. I mean, it seemed like in almost every culture there was more than one name for America. I don't know if I've run into any culture that has only one name for it, or that had, you know, in these pre-Columbian ancient times. So, you know, I feel like we should just reintegrate reality. And like, I know that reality has been cut off by like white supremacist, Christian, you know, sociopaths in the last like however many 100 years or maybe 2,000 years. But yeah, basically Christianity is what cut all this off. But you know, it's time to like undo the damage. You know, I know the pieces fit because I watched them fall away. You know, it's like everything was fit together so meticulously over the course of thousands and thousands of years, and Christianity just broke all of it and just cut it all off, you know. So it's not going to be easy to piece it back together. And like, we don't have to be cultish about it, like the way, I don't know, modern religious people are or whatever, and maybe some ancient religious people were, but I think less than is portrayed. Anyway, so I guess that's, what else should I talk about? Anything? I mean, yeah, the underworld rituals were very important. You know, seems to have been one main ritual that everybody did, in a sense, like all the ancient priests and kings seem to have done either the same or, you know, basically similar rituals where they would symbolically go to the underworld and, you know, be reborn, basically, because the underworld was where all the planets and stars and the sun and moon go. And basically, when they set and they quote unquote die and then are reborn in America, and then to shine the next day on Afro-Eurasia. So it was the land of rebirth, the land of eternal youth. Also, the Sumerians said that, or either the Sumerians or Babylonians or Akkadians said that, or all three said there was a plant in America that could grant eternal life, or at least extend life. Ogygia might also be another name for America that the Greeks used, but I'm not sure. That might be something else. It could even be like Atlantis and the Azores or something. But America was it was the Holy Land. You know, it was the preeminent Holy Land of every civilization. You know, I mean, there were also negative traditions alongside that. You know, there were the battles against America, like Ninurta or Enki versus Kur, or Ninurta versus Kur, you know, or like in the Hindu tradition and in the Zoroastrian, you know, Persian tradition, there was the underworld was treated as more negative, but even then it was very nuanced, because it was like half of it was like negative and like demonized, and then the other half of the time it was basically being described as a paradise land. You know, it was described as the land of Maya. The Maya, like Maya had come there and built temples, like 7 temples or 3 temples or something, or 3 cities. And so yeah, they crossed the river, like not something, and which is the ocean, because, you know, it's like everything is always translated as river because they don't know what the ancient words for ocean were, or maybe there wasn't a separate word, it was just a body of water. So even the word ocean that we derive, we derive that from the Greek word ocean, the Greek god who is the ocean, but is described as a river. You know, like when they translate it, there's like, yeah, he's a river. But like, that's just because they don't know how to translate it. It just means a body of water. So, it's just like the Sumerians, they translate that as what they called the ocean as the bitter river. So it's like, it's just stupid translation in a sense. Like they just, they're like, oh, well, since the same word is used for river and we first read it in that context, we're just going to always translate it as river, even though clearly it's used for all bodies of water. Anyway, so I guess that's enough for now. But yeah, so hell is like a very holy land. It's a beautiful land. And I mean, like hell, you know, America was demonized, obviously, by the Christians especially, but also the the English language was demonized, like the Anglo-Saxon language was demonized by the Normans. So, you know, maybe that even makes it worse, because like hell is like one of those Anglo-Saxon like pithy, or not pithy, but like, it's like those kind of spicy words, like, like fuck and shit, like all these like one syllable words, like 4-letter words in from Anglo-Saxon, which were just the regular words for stuff, like, oh yeah, so like I was like fucking my wife and blah blah blah. That's just their word for that, just what the Normans said, like, oh, so I was copulating with my lady or whatever. And so they determined that like fucking is bad but copulating is good, because fucking is what the low class rabble, the actual English do, but their rulers, the Normans that conquered them, they copulate. So, and in a way it's the same with hell, like I feel, in a way. I mean, of course a lot of it is just from the Bible and everything, but it at least it reminds me of that, like the way that the English language, the Anglo-Saxon kind of old English words have been demonized, that, just words that were just, those were just our words to say like basic things. Yeah, I had to go take a shit. It was, is terrible. But if you're a Norman who conquered the country, then you say, oh, I must go defecate, and then it's cool. So it's a racist, it was an imperialist, racist demonization of the language, which is still, carried on today by like all those square bears and haters. So, so hell is beautiful. I think we have to reclaim, the heritage. Like, I know there's people that don't want me to use the word hell, or, they're like, they want me to be like the guy, what was his name? Jim Bailey, who is the, publisher of the biggest newspaper in Africa, who wrote a book about this, but he wrote about every like name for America in the underworld except hell. Like, he wouldn't say that. He's like, and the Vikings called it Vinland. He couldn't say, or he tried to say like, well, there's the underworld, which was America, and then there's hell, which is like somehow something else. Or there was the underworld and Hades, and that was America, but it was different from the Inferno, which is something else bad. Like, no, it's all the same thing. You just have a bad association with the word Inferno and hell, but they all mean the same thing. It means America. Inferno means underneath. So, I mean, America's Inferno is Afro-Eurasia. Afro-Eurasia's Inferno is America. It's not like, it shouldn't be, I don't know, it shouldn't be so scary for adults to just like find out this information and terminology. I feel like it's a time to, like there's a time when you get to a certain age and your parents like tell you like Santa Claus is not real or something, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I made my parents like admit it to me when I was like relatively young, but but if I hadn't made them admit it to me, like maybe eventually I'd reach some kind of age where they'd be like, maybe now I'm 40, so maybe my mom would be like, hey, by the way, not real, like that was us giving you presents. So by the same token, I think now is the time to like let everybody know, like all the lies are not real, and at least let people know some of the basic facts that we do know about history, including this, including the ancient names for this land, and the ancient traditions around it. Like I'm proud to be from hell. Hell is a beautiful goddess. Hell is arguably my favorite goddess. Yeah. Although sun is a beautiful goddess too. I mean, I'd basically be screwed without either of those. And that's a funny thing too. Like sun is a goddess. Moon is a god. Moon is the brother of sun, I think. Whereas a lot of modern people, they kind of talk about the moon as a female and sun as a male because they're conflating it with the other traditions like the like Luna, you know, like in the Latin, Luna is the female moon, and then Sol is probably the male sun. So yeah, just another example of all the confused, yeah, just all the confusion that's happened and that's corroded this knowledge and this kind of like tradition, legacy, heritage, and yeah. So, all right, I don't know. Take care. Thanks for watching my videos. Also, by the way, if anybody if like, or if you just don't mind like commenting, and so I can follow, because I can't find like a list of my subscribers, but I would ideally would like to subscribe to all my subscribers' channels if they have channels, just because I don't know, I'm like reciprocal like that. And so yeah, like if you comment, I'll follow your channel or I'll follow you. All right, so thanks again and take care.